Welcome back to another episode of Timeout with Makali. I am finally back for this week's episode. I took a little bit of a break this past upcoming last couple of weeks. It was snowing here on campus, and they canceled all classes and everything, activities on that day. So I just went back home. I went back for Super Bowl weekend, spent some time with the family, and we watched the Super Bowl together, and it was great. We'll have another great episode on today's deck, talking about Super Bowl 59 and how the Philadelphia Eagles fly, E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles, won another Super Bowl and absolutely beat the brakes out of the Kansas City Chiefs in the middle of their dynasty, stopping a three-peat. They absolutely dominated them 40-22. First of all, before we even get to the Eagles, we're going to first talk about how they beat the Chiefs and how what went wrong for the Chiefs, actually. And we talk about, their performance, on how they performed this game. And then we talk about how the Eagles made it into this position and winning another Super Bowl in the most impressive ways we've ever seen in a while. And then we talk about the NBA, how they've dawned into a new age, a new era. A lot of really good players, star players, and role players moving on to different teams now, especially the shocking trade with Luka Dončić. I know I'm a little bit late, but I did post a video on YouTube about that. And we also talk about other big trades in the NBA. It was arguably one of the greatest NBA trade deadlines of all time. And then we go from there and we to the top 5 of the week. And you'll be surprised with this top 5 of the week. So let's get into it. Alrighty. So we're going to be talking about Super Bowl 59 and what went wrong for the Kansas City Chiefs. They absolutely got pummeled 40-22. It was never a game to even start with. From start to finish, the Philadelphia Eagles absolutely killed the Kansas City Chiefs. They made them look like not even an average football team. They made them look like a bad football team. In the biggest stage, they made Patrick Mahomes look like an absolute backup quarterback. He looked like this was the worst game I think I've ever seen him play, and especially how big of the stage it was. One of the reasons why I think they lost this game is because X's and O's can only take you so far in this league. I know the Chiefs have been able to credit their success on Andy Reid and credit their success on Steve Spagnuolo and their brilliant coaching, but sometimes you need the talent. You need the players to win a Super Bowl. And it's just not going to cut it when your receivers are very young. They've got Worthy and Hollywood Brown, who isn't all that, fantastic on anybody's level. They have DeAndre Hopkins, who's an older receiver. Kelsey is still him, but he's getting older in that age. But I would give an exception to Kelsey. It's just, they don't really have any like that true number one wide receiver type of player. I guess Worthy, you can develop him. They did lose Rice, so I guess maybe Rashee Rice was that true X number one player, but they lost him for the season. X's and O's can only take you so far, especially with Spags' defense, how it got absolutely shredded this Super Bowl. I'll get into that later. Their defensive game plan, for the most part, they said, we want to stop the run, blitz heavy, and make Jalen beat us. Not only did they stop the run, which was really successful because no team has been able to stop Saquon. They blitzed a lot, and Jalen Hurts made them pay for his arm and his legs. 2 Super Bowls in a row that Jalen has led the team in rushing yards and broke most rushing yards by a quarterback in Super Bowl history. Not to mention, I just think that their offensive line was also one of the reasons why they've lost. The inability to build an amazing offensive line around Mahomes has truly been kind of the issue on why they've lost these Super Bowls, or they've came up short. Their interior's not too bad, with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, but other than that, it's not very good. I think having Joe Thuney, your all-pro, Pro Bowl left guard, kick out to tackle because there's no other really great option at the left tackle spot. just really isn't, it's not a great plan. It's not a great idea because Joe Tooney's a guard. He's, the guard position in the NFL. They're usually shorter, a little bit, they have a little bit more body mass. They have shorter arm reach, right? And the tackles, those guys are like 6'7", a little bit. They have a little bit. They're more taller. They have less weight, right? And they have more of the reach to be able to stop the edge rushers. And Joe Tooney couldn't keep up with Nolan Smith. He couldn't keep up with any of our defensive linemen. So, and the right tackle, Juwan Taylor, who's terrible. He just either flag, false start, or holding, or he holds. That's all. He's just not a very good right tackle, in my opinion. Their offensive line, in my opinion, was one of the reasons why they lost this game. Pat was running for his life, and the Eagles didn't really blitz. They didn't really blitz. They said, Vic Fangio said, we're just going to stick in the 4-man pressure because we think that their offensive line isn't good enough to hold our defensive line. And boy, was he right, because their offensive line wasn't good enough to keep up with our front four. And our front four got after it. And they got after Mahomes all night. On like every drop back, he was pressured. From the first snap to the last snap, he was pressured. He threw a pick because he was pressured. I don't know, the first pick was just all him. That was a bad throw. But one of the reasons why they lost is their offensive lineman. As the Chiefs have to go out and get the ability to find a franchise left tackle. Because once you find a franchise left tackle, I think you can really kickstart things. But once again, X's and O's can only take you so far. And it showed why the Eagles were significantly more talented everywhere. I said it all the past 2 weeks. The Eagles are a more significantly talented team. If you have the ability to outcoach Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, you're going to win. And that's what they did. Mahomes played arguably his worst game, I think, in his career on Sunday. And it happened to be in the Super Bowl, which absolutely sucked, but it's whatever. He's just going to have to learn from this. He's been doing it to a lot of teams in the National Football League, giving them this heartbreak, and especially the fashion that, he's done it to a lot of teams. But they needed to experience this ass whooping. Because they just haven't felt what a loss really what it feels like. He just played bad, man. He was making ill-advised throws, ill-advised reads, getting picked off by a rookie corner. Cooper DeJean took his lunch money like he was in lunch and he was the bully taking his lunch money. Zach Bond took his lunch money. He made missed throws. He was inaccurate. His footwork was terrible. And the lead was too big enough to climb back from. 34-0. You're not going to win that game. Sorry. And they also need to find another running back. Pacheco's nice, but I don't know if he's really like a starter. I think he had a great first 2 seasons, but year 3 wasn't all that impressive. And if Kareem Hunt's your starting running back, sorry. They don't have an explosive run game. They don't have a very good run game, in my opinion. So they're going to have to be able to figure out how to build a running game around Pat. Because honestly, if you want to beat the Eagles, you have to run the ball very well. And also their defense got outplayed. Their defense was significantly undisciplined. Nick Bolton with the hit on Saquon was stupid. Menahu jumping off sides was stupid. They just got outplayed, man. And Spagnuolo kind of put them in a bad spot because he likes to blitz. And when you blitz against the Eagles, you have to trust your corners to stop the receivers. And the Chiefs haven't seen the receivers that the Eagles have. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they destroyed them. A.J. Brown destroyed Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie cannot guard A.J. Brown. And there was no corner that can stop both of them, Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. So they have a lot of questions the offseason. I didn't really think that they were going to win the Super Bowl this year because I just felt like their wins were masking what, their run was. They went 15-1, but it didn't really feel like they were like that caliber of good, 15-1 caliber of good. Because, just see their games and like, how are they winning? But the Eagles were winning in dominant fashion, 55-23. They went 14-1 after the bye. Really should have been 15-1 after the bye. And 15-0 after the bye. They shouldn't have lost after the bye. They had, Saquon was dominating games. Jalen was dominating games. Their defense was dominating games. So they didn't really feel like they were just dominating teams. They were winning so many close games. It just felt like some point, some team was going to beat the brakes off of them and boat race them. And that's what happened. They got absolutely boat raced, and they're just going to have to figure out, what they're going to do in the offseason. But moving on to why the Eagles won this game. I know you see what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Jalen Hurts jersey. We got a lot of Super Bowl merch coming down this way. The Eagles win their second Lombardi trophy. And revenge is so sweet. It's sweet like sweet tea, man. The Eagles wanted revenge and to avenge their loss from Super Bowl 57 and the heartbreak that I felt and the heartbreak that a lot of Eagles fans went through that day. And they made it feel good going up at some point in the game. It was 34-0 going into the fourth quarter. They were beating the Chiefs so bad. It was 34-0 in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, it was so bad that the Eagles backups had to play in the Super Bowl. You would have thought, like, if you imagine me telling you, yeah, Kenny Pickett's going to play in the Super Bowl, I would have been losing my mind. I would have been like, did Jalen get hurt? Did something happen? This, that, and the other. No, the Eagles just absolutely beat the Chiefs so bad that their backups got snaps. It just feels great, man. Another Super Bowl win. Did I think that this was possible? Yes, I did think this was possible. The Eagles were always the best team in the league this year. I don't want to hear anybody talk about, the Lions and, the Lions though, they had a great season this year and this, that, and the other. Well, the Lions were a one and done team. And I don't hear, but their injuries, their defense was so hurt all season. It doesn't matter. Next man up mentality. The Eagles lost one of their line. The Eagles were hurt too this year. Landon Dickerson went down in the NFC Championship game. We were playing with two centers and we still hung 55. Beating the Commanders isn't for everybody. Amon-Ra St. Brown talking about, this is what we want to play them week one because this is what the NFC Championship game would have looked like with a real defense. Your defense is trash. No one is afraid of your defense. Healthy or not, no one is afraid because our offense is that good. Your defense is trash. Maybe you should invest in some more athletic training and performance because your defensive players' calcium is so low that your tissue bones are so brittle. How about that? Man, please, man. Salty behavior. Take your behind to Cancun. I mean, you've already been there, so take your ass back. But the Eagles this season, they scored 145 points this postseason. It was the most points scored in postseason history, 145. We started this in the wild card. We went from the wild card to the Super Bowl, 145 points. The Eagles had the most wins in an NFL season. They had the most rushing yards in an NFL season. They had the most points in the playoffs. They had the second best turnover margin in the playoffs. So that meaning that the Eagles had over like 13 takeaways to just one turnover in the playoffs. 13-1. That is ridiculous. I don't care what you say. 13-1 turnover margin is ridiculous stat line. So the defense was elite and the only offense turned over the ball one time. They had the fifth best playoff differential. So they were just beating teams off the break. They had the sixth most points in a season, and they had the sixth most points in an NFL season. So they scored a lot of points, and they just killed a lot of teams this year. And this Eagles team was easily one of the best teams in this modern history of the NFL. And we could be potentially talking about the Eagles being one of the top 5 teams ever. You look at their team and there's no weaknesses. The quarterback is elite. The running back is elite. The offensive line is elite. The skill position players are elite. The defensive line is elite. The linebackers are elite. The corners are elite. The safeties were pretty good this season. And your kicker had a down year and had a bad season, but he came back. And shout out to Jake Elliott, man. Shout out to Jay Money. He came back and had the best performance and best game of the season. He waited to wait for the best game of the season. He had 16 points alone, which is the most by a kicker in Super Bowl history. 16 points by a kicker. He waited for his best. He waited for his best game, and so it happens to be the Super Bowl. I saw a lot of Chiefs fans saying, "Oh well, if it comes down to special teams, Jake Elliott hasn't been great this season." Well, he hit one from 50, he hit one from 45, and he hit a couple from 30. You know, it just the Chiefs they tried, and once again the Chiefs they tried to stop the run, and it worked. But the problem with that is they wanted to force Jalen to throw into the passing game, and with the passing game, you're leaving AJ Brown 1-on-1. You're leaving Devontae Smith 1-on-1, and they torched them all game. Jalen torched them all game, not only with his arms, with his legs. He absolutely killed Spags' blitz, and I think the Eagles kind of put a little blueprint on how to beat Spags' blitz, because Jalen was just checking their blitzes all at the line of scrimmage, pre-snap line of scrimmage all game. Every time they brought one of their safeties to the box or the corners to the box, he knew what they were doing. And he said, if you're going to do that, I'm just going to throw it over your head. And there's nothing you can do about it. I'm just going to throw it over your head, and that's what we're going to do. I mean, probably my favorite play of the game is when the deep ball to Devontae Smith to end the game. I think that play that Jalen checked into was just to say, you know what, we're trying to inflict so much pain on you that we feel so hurt from our last Super Bowl loss that we're trying to inflict so much pain on you. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to chuck it downfield up 27 in the fourth and go in the late into the third quarter, and you'll be down 34, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think they're trying to inflict pain, but I think not only did Jalen kill them with his passing art, his arm on the blitz, he killed them with his legs. His ability to extend the pocket and to run and to extend plays is a truly elite factor as well. But what they're also going to have to say about Jalen Hurts now, every time you mention the words Jalen Hurts, you have to say he's a Super Bowl MVP. Stopping a three-peat and beating the Chiefs in the middle of their dynasty like what they just did, diabolical, man. He's multiple Super Bowls appearance, second team All-Pro quarterback, Pro Bowl quarterback, beat a bunch of records in terms of passing and rushing wise. In Eagles history, has so many touchdowns, so many wins. That's so many. All he cares about. The only thing Jalen Hurts cares about is winning. And that's what is also his true elite trait at, is I just want to win. And when I win, I do it at an elite fashion. Jalen Hurts, since the bye week, since week 5, has not lost a game since he started and finished. Beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Not many. There's only 3 quarterbacks in this league that have beaten Patrick Mahomes in his career in the postseason. Jalen Hurts? No, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, and now Jalen Hurts. Add Jalen Hurts to that list. He's a top 5 quarterback. I remember I was sitting with my friend on the car ride back here, and I asked him, would you rather have... He's a Bills fan, so let's all send a prayer his way, because the Bills have never been able to beat the Chiefs in the postseason, and the Eagles just beat the living shit out of the Chiefs in the postseason. So let's send him some prayers his way. But I asked him, would you rather have Josh Allen's career right now or Jalen Hurts' career right now? And he told me Josh Allen's career. So what it told me is, so you care about accolades and stats more than you do about winning. See, that's the problem with your franchise. Your franchise is just like the Sixers franchise. I was the same way with Joel Embiid before he turned into a disgrace. I wanted Joel Embiid to have all the accolades and stats. I wanted him the MVP over Jokic. I wanted him all the stats and whatnot. But I didn't really care about him winning. And Josh Allen, MVP caliber player every season, elite talent, one of the best in the game. Who cares about your regular season MVP at this point? My guy has 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl MVP. I'd rather have a Super Bowl MVP and watch him be in Disney World than watch your quarterback at the awards show. How about that? Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. Just look at the resume, man. Just look at the resume and tell me that he is not a top 5. And tell me he's not a top 5 quarterback. I think he's right in that range. You want to put him at 4. You want to put him at 5. I think he's the number 5. player in this game. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. I just remember all the receipts that everybody was telling me. I remember everybody told me that this team wasn't good enough. Even people on this platform, when I post this to my TikTok, they were telling me, oh, A.J. Brown is fantastic, but they're not going to the Super Bowl. Wrong. Jalen Hurts is not a top 10 quarterback. Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love is better than him. Wrong. Jared Goff is better than him. Wrong. The Eagles won't beat the Chiefs again. The Eagles won't beat the Chiefs. Wrong. I remember I posted like a little like sentimental like Snapchat story of me talking about the Eagles, how I went through heartbreak, and I said this won't happen again. The team has a look and determination to avenge their loss, and everybody replying going, that won't happen, bro. You're gonna experience heartbreak again. Wrong. You're wrong. Yes, you all are wrong. You were dead wrong about my quarterback saying he's not that good. I remember someone else also said in one of these group chats that I was in that the Eagles were just like the Steelers, who haven't won a playoff game since 2016. He compared our team, the Philadelphia Eagles, to the Steelers, saying, you guys are just like the Steelers. You're good enough to make the playoffs, but don't do anything. I saved that. I said it was before the Packers game. So I saved that. I said, okay, so if we win the Super Bowl this year, I'm going to come right back to that. I saved it. And once we made it to the Super Bowl and we won, I said, you still have time to delete this. You still have time to delete this, by the way. I'm giving you an opportunity. You were wrong. Wrong again. When are you going to start listening to me and telling you that I'm just right about my team? Even on this podcast as well. When I was with Matt Goldman, I told him, bro, it's going to be Eagles and Chiefs, and the Eagles are going to get their revenge. He told me that I was wrong. He was wrong this time. I'm telling you. Especially my favorite thing was the Jalen Hurts Jordan commercial. I watched it over like 20 times. That commercial I probably watch every day, and I have been watching it every day. Y'all were just wrong. Just admit it. You were wrong about the Eagles. You were wrong about them the whole time. You said you wanted Nick Sirianni fired. You wanted Jalen Hurts. You didn't think Jalen Hurts was good enough. Every time I had to hear about the passing game, he said when A.J. Brown said the passing game needs to get better for us to go where we want to go. Nobody said it was because Jalen Hurts isn't a good quarterback. It was a legitimate question, and he was right. But now people took a shot at that. They thought he was taking a shot at Jalen Hurts. You were wrong. Jalen Hurts can pass that rock. He can. Man, I'm so glad we won the Super Bowl. I'm so glad we won it, man. This is going to be an exceptional 6-7 months that I'm going to have. People were just wrong. They were wrong the whole time. I'd hear people on networks talk about how this Eagles team won't go anywhere because Nick Sirianni was a clown and he's not a good coach. Nick Sirianni is a top 5 coach of this game. That's a fact. Every season he's been with the Eagles has been nothing short of the playoffs. Yeah, I have a long receipt list, man. Long receipt list. And Howie Roseman has built, and especially still to this day, I like Howie Roseman, the best general manager in the National Football League. Hall of Fame. There's only one general manager in this game that's a Hall of Famer right now, and that's Howie Roseman. The guy's has built 2 Super Bowl teams, and this one was his best yet. And most of the team were draft picks. Most of the team were draft picks. Drafted Jalen Hurts, drafted Devontae Smith, drafted Dallas Goedert, drafted Lane Johnson, drafted Mailata, who was a 7th round draft pick who played rugby, drafted Landon Dickerson, drafted Cam Jurgens. On defensive side of the ball, Milton Williams, who went off. I'll get to the defense too. Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon, Coop, Reed Blankenship, who was an undrafted free agent, Nakobe Dean. Most of the team are draft picks. He hits in his drafts, especially the defense. How about Cooper DeJean? Cooper DeJean, the white guy out of Iowa, man. Oh my gosh, when he got his pick 6, I was going absolutely wild. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy when he got his pick 6 because he hadn't got one all season, and especially on his 27 He's gonna remember that for the rest of his life. On his 22nd birthday, he picked off one of the best players in the probably the best player in the National Football League in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage, and it was his first ever interception. Was a pick six. But even Coop and Quinion, they're going to be here for a long time. Jalen Carr's going to be here for a long time. The defense is still very young, and they got some nice vets on there. It was a masterclass. Vic Fangio took Andy Reid's lunch. He took his lunch. He took him to the woodshed, actually. I'm sorry. He took him to the woodshed. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles office took Spags to the woodshed. And that's what happened. The Eagles outcoached their coaches. Anybody wants to say that they didn't, they're just delusional. That's a fact. So yeah, I was super excited. I was so happy. I didn't go to bed till like 5:30, almost 6 o'clock. And I woke up at 7:30. I was on like an hour and a half time of sleep that night. It was, once your team wins the Super Bowl, you just don't really go to sleep, honestly. Especially, this is the biggest championship in American sports. You just don't really go to sleep. You watch all the highlights. You watch all the videos. I was waiting for Jalen Hurts' Disney video because he won MVP. I'm so happy that Jalen was able to lift that trophy because he's been through a lot in his career. He got benched at Alabama. Lost a couple playoff national championship games at the collegiate level. And then in the NFL career, he was doubted. They said he couldn't play. He wasn't good enough to be a franchise quarterback. And then he became a franchise quarterback, still doubted, said that he couldn't really throw. He was a system quarterback. He was never going to be able to elevate a roster. He was never going to be able to win a Super Bowl. And then he was an MVP quarterback, showed that he is an system quarterback, showed that he can elevate a roster. And then on top of that, he showed after that, they still had doubt when he was throwing for 145 yards and they had an elite running back who had the greatest season from a running back we've ever saw. They said that he still wasn't good enough. And when the running game wasn't very good, actually wasn't good, when the running game wasn't existent in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts showed you that I can play without a running game. I did it against the Chiefs in 2023, Super Bowl 57, and he did it again. 300 total yards of offense and 3 touchdowns. When are you going to start giving my quarterback some respect? It's been long overdue. If he keeps up with this consistent play, you may not like this, but if he keeps up with this play that he's at right now, he's a future Hall of Famer. And I'll show the stats right now. He'll be a future Hall of Famer if he keeps up this consistent level of play. And right now, I think he's the best Eagles quarterback of all time. He's been the starter the whole time, multiple Super Bowl appearances, and MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Hard to deny. And the flip side, talking about the Super Bowl halftime performance, another little bit of non-sports related. Kendrick Lamar's performance, I thought I would give it like a B plus. I wouldn't say it was an A, like, oh my God, it knocked my socks off. But the fact that it was so, I love Kendrick is a creative artist, man. He's a very creative rapper. He was teasing us a little bit with Not Like Us. I loved him in his little intro. What he was talking about with Not Like Us was so great. Him bringing out SZA. They sang Luther. They sang All the Stars. I thought it was really good. I think honestly my favorite part of the halftime show was when he played TV Off and Mustard came out. That was my favorite song from the GNX album. That one or Squabble Up. He came out to Squabble Up too. That was a good one. I don't know why a lot of people are hating on it, because Kendrick is a true rap artist. His rap form is creativity and storytelling. He isn't going to come in and try and dance on you and try and show I'm just going to be dancing and popular or whatnot. He's trying to bring a message when he raps. And that was what he was trying to show, especially with Black History Month. There's a lot of hidden messages with the Black cultural race and whatnot. So I would definitely go and watch those videos on him breaking and people breaking that down. But I thought his halftime show performance was great, and him disrespecting Drake like that and still keeping the beef going. Drake got to probably get off social media for a while. He kind of beat him pretty bad in this rap beef, and I don't care what anybody says. Kendrick Lamar won that rap beef, but I thought it was a great performance. I would give it like B plus. So it wasn't like really great, but it wasn't like awful. I would give it a B. It was still really good. And we are going to be moving on to the NBA trade deadline. This was one of the greatest trade deadlines I think I have ever witnessed in my life. There were so many groundbreaking trades in this trade deadline in February, right before the Super Bowl. The first one, I think I already posted a video on this. Luka getting traded to the Lakers. He played his first game, I believe, on Monday against the Utah Jazz, and he got traded to the Lakers from the Dallas Mavericks, and complete shocking trade for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the 2029 first round draft pick. I couldn't believe it at first. I was sitting in my dorm bed, and a notification comes on my phone. It says Luka traded to the Lakers. I said, get out of here with that nonsense, man. These people trying to, hoax people, with AI, nothing can be real anymore. We don't know if it's true or not. So I just said, man, get out of here with that nonsense. So I look at my Twitter. It says Shams Charania says Luka has been traded to the Lakers from the Mavericks for Anthony Davis, first round draft pick, and Max Christie. I click on the account. It said 2.5 million followers. I said, nah, he must got hacked. And then he followed another tweet saying, yes, this is real. And to provide the full trade details, I couldn't believe it. I know the hype has died down, but for one, I would say the Lakers obviously got the long run in this because Luka is 25 years old. He's still a young superstar. And he's going to be learning from LeBron and how to be able to be a great superstar in a seriously big market like the Lakers. They do need a big. They're still a little bit weak in that area. I know they tried getting Mark Williams, but they vetoed the trade because Mark Williams couldn't pass his physical for some reason. But I think they'll still be good enough to make. I think they can make a deep run with LeBron and Luka. They can absolutely play together. I don't know how people are telling me that they couldn't play together. They can absolutely play together in this league, and they're going to dominate. And the Lakers look very, very good with just 40-year-old LeBron James right now. And JJ Redick is absolutely coaching his ass off. And the Lakers, they're going to be here for a long time because they have a young generational superstar. So I don't know what Nico Harrison was thinking. Anthony Davis, his first game, he played phenomenal. AD has always been a number 4. He's always going to dominate the number 4. But man, really, like his first game, multiple week injury to the groin. It's just Anthony Davis. He's Six Flags. He's a roller coaster. We don't know what he's going to be every time he steps on that floor. The next trade that was a really big trade was De'Aaron Fox going from the Kings to the Spurs and a 3-team trade deal. They sent 3 first-round draft picks, and they sent a lot away in a 3-team trade. They needed an all-star caliber player to pair up with Wemby and to try and make the playoff push. And even they're set up for next year because they're so young with Castle and Wemby and their other players. They're going to be good in the long run. They have Fox. They can, work out a deal with him. They're getting the experience with CP3. This is the trade to make that playoff push. And I saw that Atlanta Hawks game. I was like, I'm really sold in. The defense, though, outside of Wemby, still isn't all that great, but it doesn't matter. So, yeah. I still don't trust their defense a little bit without Wemby. But I think the Spurs are in the long run are going to be a really good team because, they have Victor Wembanyama, and he's a franchise player. He's an untradeable piece, arguably one of the best players in the game, and you just have to continue to build around him, especially with the rookie contract, and especially how so young he is. The Spurs are going to be a long run, and I'm glad that they were able to get an all-star caliber piece around him and some younger players, and they continue to build through the draft. So I'm hoping that they make a playoff push because I think they're kind of a dangerous team that nobody wants to play. Moving on to the next trade, the Warriors got Jimmy Butler. At first, this was kind of crazy because Jimmy didn't want to go to the Warriors because there was reports saying he wouldn't go to the Warriors because they wouldn't offer him a contract extension. So he said no at first, and he got traded there. And then about 10 minutes later, he got an extension from the Warriors, 2 years, about $100 million. It's kind of interesting. Didn't think Jimmy would leave the Heat until he retired, in my opinion. But, some things can change, and the Warriors were his calling card, and they were the team that was willing to pair up for another star. They were looking for other stars. I mean, they were in the market for dang near every piece. Could you imagine, like, the Warriors calling, like, Denver for Nikola Jokic? Like, hey, what's your availability on Nikola Jokic? Decline. But the Warriors were clearly desperate for another star, and this was that piece that they were missing, I guess. Does it really move the needle for them? I don't really think so, because they're a little bit older. Jimmy's a little bit older. Steph's getting a little bit older. Draymond's getting a little bit older. I don't know if it really moves the needle for me, to be honest. I still think they're kind of like the average team. But can they make the playoffs? Potentially. Are they going to be the play-in team? Definitely. I'm not, like, they were against the Bulls. They were down so many points. And then, Jimmy, they came back, but being down 25 plus to the Bulls is not a good thing, because the Bulls got absolutely killed last night against the Pistons. But I'm not really sold, in my opinion. I still think this team has a lot of issues. And they're gonna have to be, when Steph is gone, they're gonna be in complete rebuild mode. The next trade that was completed was the Raptors. They got Brandon Ingram. I felt like Brandon Ingram should have been traded like almost 2-3 years ago. The guy's been in the trade market for about like 2 years now. I felt like he was supposed to get traded a long time ago, but he got traded from the Pelicans to the Raptors, two bad teams. They traded him for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round draft pick and a second. The Raptors, they're building around Scotty Barnes. The team honestly isn't constructed all that fantastic, in my opinion. They got a lot of front court players that a lot of players that don't really shoot the ball. IQ is okay. Scotty Barnes is good. He's a good player that you should build around for sure. Ingram is RJ Barrett is like okay. I don't know why they gave him all that money, Brandon Ingram, but they're like an okay playing team, not really like moving the needle. I mean, they got some young pieces in Grady Dick and some other guys, but I'm just not really sold on this move too. It doesn't really move the needle for me. They don't really have a lot of spacing. And then the last move that really happened at the trade deadline, this was not last moves. The Lakers, they tried to trade for Mark Williams, and then it got vetoed because he failed his physical. I think they traded like a couple of, maybe 1 or 2 first-round draft picks that were a long time from now. And then they gave up like Dalton Connect, and it failed because he didn't pass his physical. I think there was something with his back, and his back wasn't good enough to be able to be a long-term player for the Lakers, and especially how young he is. It's crazy. Lakers are now desperate for the big. They got Alex Len, and he's their starting center. I'm blanking on the other guy's name, who I see his face, but I'm blanking on his name. The name will probably come on the screen. But yes, so those are their two centers. I just think the Lakers are still going to be fantastic. Once again, I think they're going to be one of those top teams in the West. LeBron and Luka will go crazy. Their backcourt with Reeves is crazy. They'll go crazy. They have nice forwards in Hachimura and Darren during DFS. Their bench isn't all that bad. And J. Redick, like I said before, he's been coaching his ass off. But I'm just not really very sold on their front court when they have to go up against Jokic potentially in the first round. So we'll see. But the Lakers will still be very good, but not really sold on their market with the bigs. Thought Mark Williams was going to potentially push them over the top, but since he didn't pass his physical, kind of tough now. They got DeAndre Hunter, and it was a much needed trade because he was having a career season this year for the Atlanta Hawks. A phenomenal 3-and-D player. I remember him at Virginia. Tall, lanky. And the Cavaliers needed a very good wing. I don't think Max Strus was going to push them over the top to become a finals potentially championship winning team. Hunter is having his best season of his career. And the Cavs, that's what they were lacking. They've always lacked having a good, solid wing option. I can shut down your best perimeter player, but also can go out and score. And that's what he is, and that's what he's going to do. And I think this move instantly boosts their chances because they have a really good starting lineup, and they have a really good coach in Kenny Atkinson. D. Mitch is an all-star. Garland was an all-star. Get Jared Allen, former all-star, and Mobley, who's having a phenomenal season this year. It's just I think the Cavs will honestly. I think they will. This is. I think this is finals years for them. It's either them or Boston. They got to go out and do it. That's just what it is. They got to go out and there and do it. And that is going to do it for that segment. And we're moving on to my favorite segment of the entire show, the top 5 of the week. Y'all know this is one of my favorite, segments of the show. I said before, where I do a new subject every show of the week. This time it's candies. I'm a big candy person. I don't like desserts. I'm not a big dessert like cake, chocolate type of guy, but I will substitute that for some candy. There's nothing better than going to like your gas station or going to the store and just picking up a nice bag of candy. But this is my top 5. At number 5, I'm going with Starburst. Now, Starburst they're very good, but it's also seriously annoying to eat them because you have to open up all the wrappers and whatnot. And they made a version, the unwrapped minis. They're very good, but like, why can't you just make a version of the unwrapped ones, but the regular kind? Just make those. Make those instead. And they would sell a lot of money. So I think the best flavors instantly, red and pink. Anybody says otherwise, you're crazy. Number 4, I'm going with the Haribo gummy bears. I grew up on those a lot. Those were always like an Easter gift for me. The gummy bears by Haribo, and those are like instantly the best on like a Sunday dessert or when you're going out. Those gummy bears are legendary, elite. Nothing better than those gummy bears. I grew up on those. So yeah. Number 3, I go with Airheads. Airheads, you can go. I like the stuffed ones. The stuff like the white ones. The ones that are stuffed. Those are probably number 3. The other ones, like, I'm not really a big fan of, but the ones that are stuffed are like those are fantastic. Those are fantastic. So I go with those number 3. They have the little sour, sweet taste. So I go with those. Number 2 is Trolleys. Love me some gummy worms. Love me some good old Trolley gummy worms. Now they fill you up very quickly, so they're not always that healthy to eat. But Trolleys on like once in a while, once occasion, very, very good. Love Trolleys. Number 1, it can't be any other debate. Nerd gummy clusters. The blue ones, not the pink ones, not the regular ones. The blue Nerd gummy clusters are the greatest thing that has ever been created in the candy industry. Those are the best. I would have a bag right now. But those are the best. Those are my favorite candy. That's my favorite candy, probably of all time. I just recently started enjoying them too the past 2 years. But Nerd gummy clusters, so yeah. I wouldn't recommend eating candy all the time. But if you asked me to give you a top 5 list, this would be it. So yeah, and that's gonna do it for another episode of Timeout with Makali. I'm glad if you guys stuck with me. Please subscribe. Please leave a review. Please subscribe on the YouTube show at Timeout with Makali and on Apple Podcasts, Timeout with Makali as well. Continue to keep doing this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.